Anak? Good morning, grade 7 dreamers. All right, good morning. So, how was your weekend? It's Monday today. So, actually I spent my weekend on in the beach with my family. How are you? How was your weekend? Good? All right, good job. Anyways, before we continue, please everyone stand up and have our opening prayer. Okay. In the name of the Father, the Son, the Holy Spirit. Amen. All right. So before you sit down, please check, arrange your chairs, and try to see if there's some rubbish and garbage underneath your chair. Please collect them and then put it inside your bag. All right, very good. I think everyone is settled down right now. Okay. So before we continue, I would like to check your attendance. If I call your last name, please say present and with a smile. All right. Jesse Abba. Good. Ibanez. All right, very good. So now everyone is here. Congratulations. Give yourself a clap. So now you're here. It's Monday. It's actually a new week and a new day today. All right. So before with that, let's always have our classroom rules. All right. What is our classroom rules? Of course, our classroom rules: respect everyone as always, including myself as your teacher and your classmates. And then also be prepared. And then if you come here, I want you to be participative. I don't want this room I don't want this room to be a competition, but I want you to collaborate, work with your classmates and work with me, of course. If you have any questions, concerns, always raise your hand. And then of course, follow instructions and also do not execute any destructive behaviors. Good? All right. Very good. So, before we continue with our class, I want to check first if you still remember what our lesson last Friday. Yes, we call. Yes, you are correct. That is fiction and non-fiction. What is fiction and non-fiction? Yes, Leia May. Good. Yes, very good. So that fiction and non-fiction, you are correct. All right. So before we start our class, right? We already grouped you into 7 groups. You already have your groups already. So each group must have a representative. So let's play Pictionary. So instead of you are going to guess what's on the picture, of course your representative will come here and also draw what is on the picture. All right. So the class representative will draw instead the said answer, or yeah, said answer. So your class representative will draw here what she thinks, and what, yeah, so you have to guess what's on, what will be the answer. All right, let's start with group 1. All right, group 1. All right, very good. How about group 2? Oh my god, group 2 did a great job. And then how about group 7? Group 7. Alright, very good. So, everyone actually did a great job. So, yeah, those answers are characters, plot, setting, conflict, and resolution, and then POV. So, anyone, what do you think will be our discussion for today? Yes, Clark. Good job. Yes, let's give a clap for Clark. That is elements of a story. All right. Yes. So that is the elements of a short story. So what do you think is the elements of a short story? Anyone? Yeah. Yes, Nina May. All right. Yes. Very good. So the elements of a story. So the elements of a story are essential components that make up a narrative or fictional work. They are the building blocks that authors use to create a coherent and engaging for the story. So these elements work together to form the structure and content of a story. So we will going to discuss the elements. What are these elements as we go in our discussion? All right. So with that, we will going to follow the story Harry Potter. All right. So we will going to use the story as our guiding map. All right. So that will be our guiding map so that we will know what is that specific story. Let's start with, of course,
Kaya palungasan mo.
alright, so let's start with plot. So what is plot? Plot is a sequence of events that make up the storyline of a narrative such a novel, film, play, or short story. So it's the in structure or that organize the events and action within the narrative. It typically includes elements such as exposition, rising action, climax, falling action, and resolution. So these elements help create a sense of progression and development in the story. So we will going to discuss the exposition, the rising action, and climax, falling action, and resolution because that is the elements under the plot. So first one under the plot is so we have the exposition. So Ibanez, please read exposition. All right, very good. So again, so these are the setting and essential situation is provided. So let's have an example for a exposition. So I will have an example here from the video. I also have a video prepared for you.
Kuya, wala ka na objectives.
Alright, so that is the example of exposition. So that scene from the Harry Potter Deathly Hallows Part 1 and 2. If you can see, there's an essential background of Snape. We thought that Snape is actually the bad guy, but he's not. He's actually in love still with the mother of Harry Potter that we actually that's a very surprise twist that Snape actually is still in love with Harry's mother, and then Snape was actually protecting Harry Potter all throughout. All right, so actually his character is also very interesting. That actually makes the whole story of Harry Potter makes actually more beautiful. I think without Snape, Harry Potter wouldn't be as you know as good story is. So that is the exposition. Again, those are essential background of the story. So if you will have the like back like those scene, yes. So those are the exposition. Now next, we also have we have the rising action. So the rising action um, involves a series of events that build tension and develop a central conflict of a problem of a story. So this is actually not the conflict, all right? So this is just a rising action. So it just build a tension, or it will just going to build a problem. It's just like going to the problem. Of course, I have a example video for you. What is a rising action?
You do realise, of course, we can't do that. You know who indefinitely. We can delete them. What does he mean? It's Voldemort. So we might as well use it. He's going to try to kill you either way. Pierre Totem Locomotor!
Alright, so as you can see, that is actually an example of rising action. So it's not the climax yet. Alright, so as you can see that the Kalaban, is going to Harry Potter's school or school of Hogwarts. So it's actually build the tension of going to the climax. So of course, speaking of climax, so we have climax here. I want Esper to read what is climax. Alright, good job, Esper. So again, before the climax, there is a rising action because it's going to climax. The climax is actually the turning point of the most intense moment of a story when the main character faces the central conflict. And at this point in Harry Potter, I have example for you. Let's play the climax of the Harry Potter. Alright, so that is the climax of Harry Potter Deadly Hallows. That was the defeat of Lord Voldemort versus Harry Potter, and then also the snake. I forgot his name. The name of the snake actually killed the head by Longbottom. So actually is also one of the elements that could help Lord Voldemort to become stronger. So thanks to Longbottom, he's actually one of the reason, and I actually thanks to the friends of Harry Potter because they actually like reason why they actually defeat Lord Voldemort all throughout. Of course, after the climax, let's go to the after the climax, let's go to the falling action and also resolution. So falling action is also after the climax. So the story begins to wind down as the consequences of the climax play out and the central conflict starts to resolve. So it's actually after the climax, we have the falling actions. It's going to resolution again. So again, we have the exposition. So if you go into the story, there's element of background and then introducing some characters like Snape. So that is the exposition. And then also rising action is you're ongoing to the climax. As you can see also with our example. Also we have climax as you can see in the video. Alright, after the climax again we have falling action and I have some examples for you prepared on the video. Alright, so that is actually our falling action. As you can see, Harry Potter has actually getting married, and then Hermione Granger, they end up with Ron. So they actually have a family, and that will lead to the death of Lord Voldemort. Actually leads to the death of or everyone's peace. So that became the resolution. So the resolution is actually known as the denouement, is the final part of the plot where loose ends are tied up and the story reaches its conclusion. So it's in conclusion, everyone is actually happy everyone builds a family, and then they actually live in peace so far because as I've mentioned, Harry Potter marries, I forgot her name, and then Hermione Grange marries Ron, right? So that is actually first part of the elements of the story. That is our plot, and these are the plots: the exposition, rising action, climax, falling action, and resolution. Do you have any question, class? None so far, are you sure? Alright, very good. So again, this our plot. A plot is an element of a sequence of a story that builds up the entire story. So this is actually very essential to complete a story or any story in a film or video or a series. Alright? So let's go next. Next is we have, of course, we have characters. So, characters is the individual or entities that inhabit the story. Characters are individuals or entities the audience or readers can relate to, empathize with, or be interested in. So again, that's why it's entities, because characters not only limited to people, but also character lead can be an animal, yes, or can be an entity. So it could be a sponge, like a SpongeBob, and then everything that in under the sea or anything that it's actually a bottle. Maybe it could be a character or a lamp, or yeah. So that's why it says there entities, because again, it's not only limited to people. So they can be protagonists, the main character, of course, and then the antagonist, and then we also have supporting characters and well-developed characters and distinct traits and motivation. So we will go to discuss them one by one. What is protagonists, antagonists, and supporting characters? Alright. So again, characters are entities or the bida in a story. Alright, let's go next. So of course, protagonist is the main character of the story, and the narrative often revolves around their experiences, challenges, and growth. At this point, I include Hermione Grange and and their friends Ron, because I think they're also protagonists, because if you read or watch the entire Harry Potter series, it's actually revolves around not only to Harry Potter but also to Ron and then Hermione, that we used to that we get to know the character, not only to Harry Potter. So these are the protagonist or the bida in a certain character, or no, in a story. Alright, so let's go next. We have protagonist. Next is we have the antagonist. Of course, as you'll know, even in our personal life, there's some bida and then contra bida. So these are the antagonists. So antagonists are the characters of the force of the opposes the protagonist, creating the conflict and tension in the story. Again, it's for me, I think this is very important, creating a story, because without the antagonist, there's no, there's no interest in a story, there's no beauty in a story. So if someone like bothers you, it's just like part of your story. So anyone that antagonize you as per se, it's actually part of your story, and it makes your life more beautiful. So again, we have of course the main antagonist, Lord Voldemort. Of course, the Death Eaters, because they're a group. And then we have the Malfoy clan, of course, and then we have Finnear, Greyback. So those are the antagonists in the story Harry Potter. Alright, questions. What is the protagonist and antagonist? No? Alright, very good. Next is we have, of course, the supporting characters. So these characters play significant roles in the story, but not the main focus. So they often help they actually help or hinder the protagonist and contribute to the overall narrative. Without these supporting characters, I think the build up of the main characters would not be possible. We need the supporting characters to introduce something of the character or a story or a narrative. That's why in every award-winning stories we have best supporting actor, best supporting actress because they're also essential in a story. Of course, example for that is Dobby, and as you can actually remember, Dobby actually dies, and because of Harry Potter, and treat Dobby as a real friend. Actually, I cried that scene. And then we also have Remus and then Nymphara. These are the couple in story that actually helps also Harry Potter. And surprisingly, we have Snape. What is the name again? Severus Snape. So, supporting character, Snape. I think in the first part of the story, we think and we believe that Snape was the bad guy, but just in case not. Actually, Snape for me is one of the most intelligent characters built by J.K. Rowling. I guess so. Yeah, I think he is one of the most well-developed character, but at this time is in supporting characters. And then also we have Dumbledore. If you know Dumbledore, she actually went to the entire series of the Dumbledore before he dies. I hope you watched also his movie. He actually Dumbledore was never married because he turns out gay. All right, so that's the secret of Dumbledore. Look for that movie. And then we also have Belle and then Fleur. If you remember from the Goblet of Fire, we have these characters that also helps Harry Potter with his going to the Goblet of Fire. If you can remember, Goblet of Fire, there is Edward Cullen from the movie Twilight. I don't know, I forgot his real name. So these are the supporting characters. Next, so we have the dynamic characters. So this is characters undergo significant changes, growth, development throughout the course of the story. So they actually like changes every time. So an example for this are, next slide. So we have Severus Snape, as I've mentioned. So Severus Snape is one of the most complex and dynamic character in the entire Harry Potter, Deathly Hallows. So his true motivations and loyalties are revealed, showcasing a more multifaceted side of his character. So his actions and decisions throughout the books shed new light on the past of the reasons behind his choices. Because again, as he have said, until now, love pa niya si mama ni Harry Potter. You know, that's love can do. It actually changes everything. Alright, so as you can see, it's Dumbledore asked him, because Dumbledore doesn't know his motivations and loyalties. And then, and in the exposition that I showed you, it turns out that Snape's still in love with the mother of Harry Potter, and then wanted to protect Harry Potter. So that is why His character is more complex and interesting. So we have next. So we also have Neville Longbottom. So as you can see from the very shy type to he actually stood up with Lord Voldemort. So in the video, if you can remember, Lord Voldemort asked everyone if they want to be there on their side, and Longbottom actually stood up, and then he said, "Hey, no." All right. So Longbottom is actually like very insecure character, but over the course of the series, he undergoes remarkable growth in Deathly Hallows, so becomes a symbol of resistance and also courage, standing up to Death Eaters and playing a pivotal role in the final battle of Hogwarts. He also cut the head of a snake. Alright, so let's go next. Yeah, of course, we have Draco Malfoy from a character who has been primarily portrayed as the rival to Harry Potter, like those early stages of the story. So we know that he's actually the primary rival to Harry Potter, but no, he actually not. So it's actually development in he grapples with the consequences of his family alignment with the Voldemort and torn between loyalties and his parents. So again, he turned his back to his family. So that's why he became the good side. All right, let's go next. So we have the dynamic characters. So we have Longbottom, we have Snape, and then we have Draco Malfoy. Next is the static character. There's not so much interested in this because static characters remain relatively unchanged in terms of their personality or beliefs throughout the story. In short, they're boring. They're just there to support maybe the protagonist or antagonist. So we have also Rita. For example, we have Rita Skeeter. If you're familiar, actually she dies. And then also we have Cornelius, if you remember, and then Argus, the gatekeeper, is actually very there's not so much change of their characters. That's why they have static character, but they're also very important to the story. So we have next. All right. So with that, we have done with the characters. Again, we have the antagonist, protagonist, we have the dynamic character, the static character, the supporting character. Alright? So those are the elements under the character. So any questions? None? Good. So let's proceed to the setting. So the setting is the time and also the place where the story unfolds. The setting includes the physical environment, yes, and then also historical context and cultural backdrop with the influence of the characters and events. So that's why there's physical environment, because as the story goes more modern, we have multiverse per se, that those are the places that they didn't introduce yet. So that's why it's physical environment or something that we might familiar or might not familiar. Alright, so that is the setting. So say for example our classroom. So this is a setting. Alright, so anything that we revolves physical, and then also the time. What time is it? In the morning? Is it dawn? Is it a sunset? Like that. So let's go next. Of course, in the story Harry Potter, there is, I think, the 60% of the story spends in school of Hogwarts and wizardry. We also have the prime home of the Dursley family. So this is actually the home where Harry Potter introduced. So before he going to the Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry. So we have the Forest of Dean. So this Forrest is also very important because she saw her mother over there, and then also no, not only her mother but the parents. All right, so these are the main settings in the story Harry Potter. Next. All right. So before we go to we're done with the setting, and then we're also done with the characters, and then we're also done with the plot. Now, let's proceed to the conflict. Alright, so conflict is the fundamental element of a storytelling that drives the plot and creates tension and drama within a narrative. So it is the central source of struggle or opposition that characters face. It is essential for engaging the audience or readers. Conflict can take to the various forms in a story, and it typically falls into four main categories. So under conflict, we have four categories, alright? So let's go with first. So do you have any questions with conflict? Alright, again, so conflict is the tension and drama within a narrative. So it's actually the problem, alright? So first is we have the man versus self. So man versus self is a type of conflict occurs within a character's mind. So it involves characters struggling with their own thoughts, emotions, beliefs, or decisions. They may grapple with doubt, fear, guilt, and moral dilemmas. Internal conflicts are often used to explore characters' growth, development, and inner journey. In short, anxiety. I'm just kidding. No, it's not actually anxiety, but actually have a self-thought, a self-doubt. If you're actually like questioning yourself, am I going to school? Am I going to absent right now? That's actually part of example of man versus self. So actually, it is considered as conflict. Okay, because if you're questioning yourself, you're very doubtful. Should I do this? Should I do that? What if? What if? What if this happens? So that is actually man versus self. And again, it's considered as conflict. Next, we have man versus man. It is this type of conflict that character faces opposition or challenges from another character or group of characters. Can be physical, emotional, an intellectual clash. This type of conflict common in the story, dramas, and interpersonal relationship. So let's say for example, in our class, right? So we have some conflicts are going on here, like no, I don't want to mention name. So we have conflicts inside our classroom between your classmates. I know you're having some issues right now, but that's okay. You'll get there. You'll be okay. You'll be fine. So those are example of conflict. So man versus man and man versus self. Again, man versus man. If you are having some issues with your classmates, man versus man. All right, let's go next. So we have man versus nature. So here, the conflict arises from natural world or forces of nature. So characters may struggle against elements such as storms, wildlife, disease, or environmental disasters. So survival stories often feature man versus nature conflict. So example for this is 2011. That's example for that. What else? Those like disasters of that they're having issues like COVID. Example for that is COVID. Our conflict for that is the COVID or the disease itself or the virus. So that's considered as conflict as well. So we have man versus man versus self, and man versus nature. So do you have any question before we proceed to our last conflict? None? Good. So we have man versus society. So of course, this typical conflict involves character or group of characters' opposition to the norms, rules, or values of society. So it can address issues like injustices, discrimination, opposition, cultural clashes, stories with political and societal themes often include this type of conflict. So say for example, for that one, if you're gay, then everyone is against you, according to the Bible. But in this case, in this time, in this modern era, I don't think so. I think everyone is actually free to go outside, and be themselves, and that is actually a good part. All right. So next. So next is next. So in the balik na man versus man. So those are the four essential part or the categories of a conflict. So before we go to the next element, do you have any question? None? All right. Good. So let's go next. So we have the resolution. So actually this is a part also of the element. So if you have the resolution, if you can remember, we have the resolution in plot, right? But we also have resolution here is in a story where the problems or challenges of the characters face throughout the story get solved. So this is actually the entire resolution of the story. Let's go next. So we have point of view. So this is actually a crucial element of storytelling because it determines the advantage of point which narrative presented to the audience. The choice of point of view greatly impacts how the reader's overviews connect the characters, understand and interpret the story overall meaning. So let's go next with the categories of point of view. We have first person point of view. So in first person point of view, the narrator is a character within the story and the narratives unfolds through the personal experience through the uses of I or we in the common in this POV. So say for example, if someone is actually like telling you we cross the river, or I crossed the river, and then he is actually one of the character of the story, that's actually the example of first person point of view. Now next. So the second person point of view, if the first person point of view is actually narrates what happened and then he actually one of the character, that's first person point of view. In second person point of view, the narrative perspective where the author addresses the reader directly as the reader is characters in the story, uses pronoun like you and your involved in the reader narrative, and providing more immersive and engagement experience. So the author is actually want you to be part of the story. So he's using you are going to this dark place, you're going to this old mansion and all of that. Alright, so let's go next. We have the next. So third person point of view. So third person is only limited to the narrator's external entity who works through the feelings of one character or select few. In a story, it uses pronouns like he, she, and they. So they are afraid, she is afraid, he is happy. So that's actually third person's point of view. So again, POV, we have first person point of view, second person point of view, and then third person point of view. Do you have any questions for this one? Are you sure? Alright, because later on we're going to have an exam for everything of this. Alright, from the characters, and then the elements of the and then characters, and then we have the plot, and then we also have the conflict, and then the setting, and then also the POV, and then also resolution. I'm going to ask you a few questions regarding that one. You ready? Alright, very good. So let's go next. So example from the Deathly Hallows. Alright, the narrative. No, that's okay. Let's go next. They don't have any question now. Let's go with the last one, the theme. So a theme in a story is the central recurring idea or concept that the narrative explores, comments, or reflects upon themes and borders of the inside of the story, conveys a human condition or society or to the world. They often provide story with a depth and meaning, allows reader or the views to connect with on a deeper level. So, grade 7, what do you think is the theme of Harry Potter? Yes, Terry. Friendship? Yeah, it could be friendship. Yeah, because it actually involves with friendship of Hermione and then Ron and Harry Potter. What else? Yes, love. Yeah, of course, love is there from the Harry Potter. But let's explore next slide. Okay, so some themes of the story. So we have friendship and loyalty, good versus evil, and then also sacrifice and selflessness. That's what Snape did in the entire story, sacrificing himself and loving someone. And he's actually a very selfless guy. Alright, so let's go next. So, I want you to prepare a pen and also a paper. Alright, so I'm going to play a video and you're going to identify who is the main character of the story, where and when does the story take place, and describe the physical, okay? The physical and the temporal aspect of the setting. And then number 3, what emotions does the story evoke? Or are there any recurring symbols or motifs in the story that carry a deeper meaning? So you're going to have that. This is actually a very quick story. And then 5, are there any internal conflict within the characters themselves that contribute to their development? So these are the 5 questions, and answer that. The title of the story is Umbrella. Alright, so that is the story all about Umbrella. Alright? So, yeah, that's PowerPoints. So, yeah, I hope everyone get the main character and the story, okay? And then all these questions. Next. So, balik sa atin to. Alright, so why do you think it's important to know the characters, the setting, and the moral of the story? What do you think? Why a reader or an audience, needs to understand what are the motives of the character, who are the characters, the story? What do you think? Yes, Ninya May. Of course. Without those elements, the story would be nothing, right? That's why they call the elements of the story, because they are very essential to a story, and it's actually very important in every story, because we need to understand what are the motivations, and then also it actually says thing about a reader or an audience. If a reader wants a sci-fi, or a reader wants a love story, or a drama, or horror, it says something about us as an audience and also as a reader. So anyway, thank you so much for those insights, and I will collect the paper. Please give it to Leia Marie Cabando. I will collect also that one, and then that will be served as one of your assignment. But before we go and also continue, let's go next with our very last activity. It's storytelling charades. Of course, you have grouped yourself already, so we always have the same groupings. So number one, students will have the same group of the previous activity, as I mentioned. And then also choose one person to act the charades. And then first round, then the person will act the story of element without speaking, while others will guess. 3, as the charades performer begins acting out the story element they select, they can use gestures, facial expressions, and body movements to convey the elements. So again, we have there, you're going to guess what are the elements of the story. It could be under plot, it could be under character, it could be under setting, it could be under POV, and all that categorization. So it's not actually like this, the main elements. Alright, but let's go dig deeper with your activity. Alright, let's start with group 1. Alright, good job, group 1. So the time they get is actually like 1 minute and 2 seconds. Let's go with group 7. Alright, good job, group 7. I think that was really quick. They only have 47 seconds. Congratulations. So before we end our class, do you have any questions for me? No? Alright, very good. So with that, since you don't have any questions, I have a assignment for you. Next slide. Alright, for your assignment, I will give you a paper. Okay, I'll give you a paper that the question there is from 1 to 20. So you have to answer that and return the paper tomorrow at 8 a.m. in my office. Alright? Very good. So that is all for today. So we discussed the entire elements of the story, so you know what is the meaning. And I hope on the next meeting you're going to discuss or share what stories you'd like. All right. Thank you so much again, grade 7 dreamers, and have a good day.